It's the season 2 finale of Serious and Silly. 42 episodes we did this year, Sheila.
Scotty, I'm so tired. I'm really exhausted.
We should probably start the show then.
Wait. Before we end, I want to say thank you to all of our amazing viewers for participating and watching our Serious and Silly seasons, because there's been 2. We thank you so much for all of your time and your support.
I especially want to thank you and I, Sheila.
I mean, clearly, obviously.
Yeah, couldn't have done it without us, let's be honest.
No. Let's start the show.
Yes, please. Welcome back. This is the season 2 series finale of Serious and Silly. I'm Scott. This is Sheila. And today, Sheila, we got a rock star. We got a rock star for a guest. He's an award-winning journalist, broadcaster, TV host, starting in Canada on Canada AM, CTV News, CTV National News, the CBC, and then for the last 25 years or so, working with the NBC News. He's covered all of the major stories from Tiananmen Square to the crisis in the Middle East to Columbine to 9/11. You can catch him as one of the hosts of Dateline NBC Friday nights at 9. He is a legend, Sheila. He's the king of murder mystery. He is the OG of true crime, Mr. Keith Morrison. Welcome to Champlain College. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thanks very much. That was too kind.
I got through my intro, so now I can settle down. So we have so many questions for you, Mr. Morrison, and we want to get right to it. And one of the things I remember, Sheila's way too young, but Dateline NBC started out as a news story before it transitioned to true crime. So you being a journalist, what were your thoughts when your boss kind of sat you down and said, Keith, look, we're headed in a different direction?
I was initially reluctant, as were some of the others. I mean, numbers of people who worked for Dateline thought, what are we doing this true crime for? We do science, we do politics related stories, we do all kinds of stories, but maybe once in a while crime. But when we started doing it all the time, there was some resistance, and much of that was from me, I have to confess.
You thought, this is a terrible idea, it'll never work.
That's almost precisely what I said at one point. Yeah.
This will never catch on.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Morrison, you have a very colorful, when we're doing all our research before this interview, and you have a very colorful career path. So, potential lawyer, potential minister, a variety of other things. But obviously, broadcast journalist and correspondent is where you landed. We have an amazing student population, and they are very passionate. So we wanted to ask, what advice would you provide to students regarding following their passions or the ups and downs of their journeys, and where that can lead them to?
Well, I'm probably the last person in the world you should ask advice of, because I stumble along through life, and as most of us do, you don't always end up doing what you set out to do or what you think you'll be doing. Life happens the way it happens. And just being prepared to be flexible and to follow the bouncing ball is probably the only thing you can do. Mm-hmm. And to be frightened a good deal of the time. The more you scare yourself, the more you're kind of afraid to take on something, but take it on anyway. Mm-hmm. The more likely it is that you'll continue to make progress.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great advice.
Is there a truth to the story that you were sitting down watching the news and you said, I could do this, and the rest is kind of history?
There's truth to my saying that, full of hubris as a very young person, yes.
So another question that I had regarding our students, we've seen the youth create so many different types of movements. We've had our climate marches and a variety of other things happening in Montreal. But you were a key contributor to the coverage that was taking place with the student rebellion in Beijing, and the resulting massacre in Tiananmen Square So I wanted to get your take on how important is the voice of the youth in creating change?
Well, I think the huge disappointment after Tiananmen Square was that they gave it their all. There were 1 million people in that square every day for, a long time, day after day after day. And this was always, these are recycled people, different people a lot of the time. And vast numbers of people came through that demonstration, and they really felt they were making great progress. What they were defeated by was a power struggle at the top of the Communist Party of China. But, the person who would have supported them was ousted, and the one who took over quashed the rebellion. But obviously, the voice of youth, whether it's in the Black Lives Movement or Tiananmen Square or many of the other movements that have occurred, anti-Vietnam War, you name it, have been the most important voices. They often don't get heard immediately, or the route to change is not direct, but tremendously important. If young people don't get upset about things, if they don't start demonstrating about things, if they don't make their voices heard, frankly, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Thank you for that answer. Yeah. So, Mr. Morrison, we're going to switch it up to something a little bit silly. Already we've been filming for about 5 minutes, and you're recognized, I think, for two things. And one is, that wonderful head of hair you have. And then the other thing is the voice. So Sheila said I could only ask about one, so I want to talk about the voice. It's one of the most recognizable voices, I think. I read an article where they described it as sleeping in your most comfortable bed with a weighted blanket, drinking a warm cup of tea.
Wow.
Who said that?
Wow.
It was in your GQ article, yeah.
It was?
Yeah.
Oh,
So where did this voice come about? When did you know you had this voice? Tell us everything about your voice.
I don't like the sound of it myself. So, it's one of those things. I'm gratified that people think good things about my voice, but it's a mystery to me why.
You did recently, I think on February 14th for Valentine's Day, you had a little collaboration with the Waze app where your voice was the navigation system for a couple weeks.
Yeah, that was a few years ago now, but yes, it was. It was interesting. It was fun. Yeah.
Did you listen to yourself?
Leading people astray? Well, no, I did actually. I couldn't do it. I tried it for one trip, and I think I had it on in my car for maybe an hour, and then I had to turn it off because it was absurd. But somebody told me later that because apparently Waze keeps track of these things, that they said you can take pride in the fact that people around the world drove something like 90 million miles listening to your directions.
There's a great video on YouTube of your colleague Josh Mankiewicz teaching you how to download the app. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, anything goes online now, eh?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then the second quick question about your voice is I plan on at some point writing a memoir, and I have a working title. So I want your opinion on the working title, and also wondering if you would narrate it. So it's called, the working title is called Wisdom of a Lazy Man. And I'm wondering if you when I write it, it's going to be so impressive. Will you do the books on tape for me?
Well, of course.
You can think about it. I'm not sure if this counts as a verbal contract, and if your agent was in the back, you'd probably be doing something like this.
Yeah. Mr. Morrison, you had mentioned that you didn't know, when they had mentioned the true crimes and implementing that into NBC, how popular it was going to become, because it really is a very popular thing that people research on YouTube. Right. So many Netflix miniseries are popping up. And also, you are very popular on Instagram. I don't know if you were aware of this.
I did not know that. No.
You are very popular, and the Instagram handle for this is Keith Leans on Things.
Oh, that. Oh, yes. I'm aware of that, I'm afraid.
You're aware of that? It's how many followers, Scotty?
About 22,000 followers, which is about 22,000 more than I have.
I see. Yeah.
So,
Well, then compare that to the 10 million followers that some actually famous people have, right?
I think you're pretty famous, so we are very excited to have you on our show today. My question to you is, how would one follow you if they do decide to go on the Mr. Morrison fan page?
I don't know how you do it on Instagram. I have no idea. I have a Twitter account, which is Dateline _Keith.
Okay. Simple, to the point, love it.
110,000 followers, Sheila, which is about 110,000 more than me.
You see, and you know 110,000 more things than I know.
And you've also ventured out into the wonderful world of podcasting. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Which is actually a great deal. I'm enjoying it a lot. One of those things that I had to be dragged into, by the way, but because it's not television and we're in the television business, and really, but it's actually remarkably freeing not to have to worry about the constraints of television, of having, because you're really telling two stories when you tell a television story. You're doing it verbally, but you're also doing it visually, and the two have to match. And you can't tell more verbal story than you have pictures for, and vice versa. So it's a bit of a dance, and it's a stricture to some degree. Podcasts, on the other hand, your mind is the camera. You can just go on and go on and go on and say whatever you want, and at least assuming it's true, and tell a story the way you would more like in a novelesque way.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited for that new venture for you.
And we get to listen to your voice for, however long it happens. But we'll definitely put the link to the podcast on our thing. A couple more just silly questions, Mr. Morrison. You've interviewed so many people. Is there anyone that you didn't get a chance to interview, or dead or alive, that you would like to have interviewed?
Well,
or
now that I've talked to you guys, my life is complete.
That's what we thought. I read an interview that you had no plans on retiring, but is this, now that you've completed this, are you thinking about
nothing left to do? Right?
It's over.
Yeah, I know you were thinking before last Friday that we were in contact. If only I could talk to two people from a small college in Montreal. Yeah. That would be it for me. I've been broadcasting for 50 years, but this is what I need.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
But is there anyone that you would like to interview?
Oh, the list is very, very long. And you got me on the spot now, trying to think of people I'd like to interview. I'd like to be able to go back and interview people who are dead. And there are so many of those. But the one that popped into my head is, as soon as you asked me if there's somebody I'd like to interview I haven't had a chance to, it would be Dr. Seuss. But Dr. Seuss, of course, has left us some years ago. I got a chance to interview him once, very, very briefly, at a book fair. Gosh, I don't know how many years ago it was, probably 30 years ago. And, he was just a shy guy. He didn't like to be interviewed. I think I had maybe 90 seconds with him. I asked him one question, and he gave me a sort of a half answer. But it was enough to get me interested in the way that man's mind worked. And ever since then, I thought, gosh, if I had a chance to interview somebody again, I'd want it to be him.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting man.
So since me and Sheila are newbies, Mr. Morrison, this is our 40th or 41st show we've done, and you've been at this a little bit. That makes you
more than newbies, I gotta say.
What advice could you give Sheila and I? What makes a great interview?
Good question.
If I could figure that out, we'd.
You've only been on TV for 50 years. I think you might have a smidge of it figured out.
I don't know. You just, what the person is telling you is more important than what you're going to say yourself. Sometimes you listen to people doing interviews and the person asking the questions talks more than the person giving the answers. That, to me, is not a great interview.
Mm-hmm.
Really, you're talking to somebody in order to hear what they have to say.
Mm-hmm. So,
was he looking at me directly when he said that?
Hey, I'm like, Scott, is he
Nonsense.
telling you something?
Yeah. Am I on his right or his left? Which way is he looking?
Oh, well,
This is too much fun.
we do want to say thank you very much for hopping on with us today. We recognize that you are very, very busy, with all your endeavors with the podcast and everything. So we do want to say thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
A very little mini series to bring about serious questions, but also a silly twist to them. And if you guys want to keep following our Serious and Silly web series, you can follow it on Champlain College Saint-Lambert, and normally post on Tuesdays. And like Scotty mentioned, this is going to be our final episode of our series or of our season, and we couldn't be more excited to have you as our final guest.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Sheila, before we let Mr. Morrison go, I know you're an astute observer, but am I the only one who thinks that me and Keith and Mr. Morrison, am I the only one who thinks we've become best friends?
No, I think that's about right.
Okay. I think we're going to move to LA, Serious and Silly with Keith, Sheila, and Scott. Let's make it happen.
That's Mr. Morrison's Saskatchewan niceness. Is that it? You're from Saskatchewan originally, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not sure why he's not replying to any of my emails.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morrison. We hope
you have a
great day.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.